Congratulations, you have almost made it to the end of this micro course on baptism, and I'm glad that you've stuck around. By the end of this, we just want to make sure that you take a look at the links that are provided to make sure that you follow up and actually take a step towards baptism. Maybe that's going to be at our local church, or maybe you're using this as a resource for another church. Make sure that you reach out to your local church and find out how you too can be baptized. But just a couple kind of loose ends I want to tie up before we say goodbye. The first one is this, and I do think this will apply to all churches, but I'm speaking specifically on behalf of Tidal Church at this point. We have discipleship goals for you, and those include being baptized, but they're not limited to being baptized. I alluded to this at the end of the last video, but if you get baptized here at this church, we will have a system in place where we will actually not just baptize you and send you off into the world, but we will follow up the next week, the next month. We will actually ensure that you have resources and information at your disposal about how you can connect in to a smaller group at our church, because we do believe that it's actually not just by attending church services on Sundays that you grow, but it's actually by being in a group of people who you know and whom you're known by, and then intentionally walking towards Christ, and not only reading the Bible, but try to understand it and then apply it. All of these things that happen in intentional small groups, we think those are actually really crucial towards growing in your faith. And so, because we want you to grow in your faith, and because we have baptized you, we're not just going to let you drift off into the sunset. We are going to reach out. So what I'm trying to say is, if you don't want that kind of accountability, if you don't want people following up, then you probably don't want to get baptized at our church. So bear that in mind. There will be not only hopes, but expectations for people who are baptized in the church. Here's a question that we get sometimes, which is a fun one. Do I, quote, need to be baptized? I can't tell you the number of times somebody has shared with me the story of the thief on the cross from the gospel according to Luke. And they say, hey, the thief on the cross wasn't baptized, and Jesus said, surely today you will be with me in paradise. Therefore, baptism is not a requirement for salvation. I just want to say, for anybody who's gotten this far, just trying to think about, is this even something I need to do, and can I somehow avoid this? With respect, if your question is, do I need to? Then I think you're asking the wrong question. Maybe what you should be asking is, can I get to? Right? As we read earlier, baptism is a means of grace. It's a method. It's a way that God actually pours his gifting into you. Why would you try to avoid that if you're actually trying to follow after and get closer to him? Baptism is not a need to. Baptism is a get to scenario. So I would want to encourage you with that. That being said, one of the particularities about our situation as a church, as a denomination, as a faith tradition, as I said, is it is possible that some people, even within our tradition, have gotten baptized as infants, or they got baptized when they were young adults, but their life has taken a pretty dramatic turn. Maybe they did it without even necessarily believing in it. Or they've taken a significant walk away from it. There's a number of reasons why we have people who come towards us and say, hey, I was baptized at one point in time, but I would like to be baptized again. I want to talk about this very carefully. As we read earlier in Ephesians, there is one baptism, right? Now, it would be over-interpreting and over-applying that to say that means necessarily that somebody's only baptized one time. But it has been the stance of the church really since all the way back to the beginning that is all that's required, is just that one baptism. So even if a child is baptized before they can speak or understand, there can come a time in their life when they own that baptism for themselves. Even if someone is baptized and then they walk away and renounce their faith, when they come back, there is an opportunity for them to do an affirmation of vows, right? They can actually say, I would like to own the baptism that was done on my behalf all these years ago, even though I rejected it, kind of walked away from it. This is, we won't get into church history, but this is something it's not a new concern for us. So I want to say that if you were somebody who was baptized as an infant, we actually, as a church, have two stances. One, we are happy to baptize again with a believer's baptism people who were baptized as infants. So if you were below the age of accountability and it was done on your behalf, we are certainly more than willing to give you the opportunity for a believer's baptism. It is not required. We're more than willing also to provide you a ritual that gives you the opportunity to kind of own that. And that's called an affirmation of baptism or a renewal of vows. And that's an opportunity that we can take as well. If you were over the age of accountability, if you were a teenager, a young adult, even an older adult who has had just a radical transformation since then, we won't fight you. We're not going to wrestle you to the ground and just say, never again. But I want you to know you don't need another baptism. And here's why. The waters of baptism are effective, and they're not effective because of you. They're effective because of Christ. Remember, way back in that first video, John the Baptist saying, why in the world would I baptize you? Let it be done, he said, to fulfill all righteousness. When Jesus went in the waters of baptism, he's the one who made them all holy. So it's not, how sincere or earnest or how perfect and informed you were. That's not what makes baptism effective. What makes baptism effective is the fact that it is done in the name and to the glory of Jesus Christ. So don't beat yourself up over it. We can have that conversation if you'd like to. Last thing I want to say, and this might seem like it's out of left field, but to me it's so fascinating. And maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't. Baptism, for some people, is really it's just a thing. They think of it as an outward symbol. It doesn't really have any kind of inward reality. Well, since the beginning of the church and to this day, when people are baptized in some faith traditions, not only do they go under the water or get sprinkled, not only is there some kind of party, not only do they say kind of words, but they get a new name. Did you know that? Often christening in churches is connected with giving children their name, their new identity, but it's not just for babies. When an adult in many of these contexts is brought into the church, they are given a baptismal name. Do you know why that is? Because of how important and meaningful baptism is. Because the old so-and-so is dead, long live the new so-and-so, right? When they are buried with Christ, their old identity is also buried. And they are raised, they are clothed with, they are united to, they are brought together with Christ. And that's their new identity. And that new name is intended to connect to that new identity. The old Mark is gone. Behold, the new Mark has come. Now, we don't tend to rename people, but I think that it's a beautiful picture of just how important, how meaningful, and how effective baptism can be. So if you stuck with us all the way along here, I hope that by now you are not wrestling with it, but you're ready. You want to hop into the waters of baptism. So you can make sure that you use the information that's provided in the notes along with this video to take your next step, whether the next step is further reading or whether it's to reach out to a pastor to ask questions, or whether it's to just sign up and say, I want to be baptized today. I hope and pray that that's the step that you'll take.